Just to give you a little bit of backstory, this brick painting that I have worked on is one single layer. I did it in one layer. I have the brick as a still life off to the left, but I feel like it's more important to show you my mixtures and what I'm going to be doing with the rest of the brick. So at this point, I feel like I have a really good study of the brick, and now I need to enhance some things. So I want to enhance some contrast in some areas and decrease contrast in others, and increase chroma and decrease chroma. But this has some good variation of texture. Hopefully you can see it. And I want to just refine and push it a little bit more. What I will be doing is I will be glazing some areas and scumbling some areas. So I'll start off with doing some scumbling. Scumbling is usually what happens when you take a dry brush, is what it's called. So here I have a bristle brush. I'm going to add a little bit of king blue to my white. I also like having my palette right next to the surface that I'm going to be painting on so that I can see the correct value, chroma, and hue. This I know is way too light in value, because if I bring it over here, it just pops off the page too much. So I need to make it a little bit darker in value and less chromatic. So I'm going to take some raw umber, darken the value a little bit. Oh, that was too much. So I'm going to take some more of this blue because I want to get a cooler shift or a cooler color in some of these areas. Again, too dark in value. It's about finesse. You just need to slowly get to where you want it to go. Now, the white that I'm using is a lead white, so it is not that strong of a color, which is great. That forces me to use more paint to build up colors and values. You can see now there's a difference between this value in color and that value in color. So what I'm going to do is, this is scumbling. I take my paintbrush and I go across the surface. This is considered to be a wet or dry brush. It doesn't have a lot of paint on it. I haven't scooped it up. It's not very viscous in paint quality, but I just have enough on there that I can drag it across. And I'm going to experiment here and just see what happens. See if this is the right value. If I go across here, yeah, it's pretty close. I could go a little bit lighter in value and a little bit less chromatic. But if you can see here, there are parts where I dragged it across and it picked up on the ridges of some of the paint and left the paint quality inside of the valleys of the paint. So I'm going to take some Naples Yellow. This will shift it a little bit lighter in value and less chromatic. Let's try that. Dragging the brush across. That has some better colors that I'm liking. Maybe slightly lighter in value. Take the dry brush, come across here. Now down here, it starts to become more of a white color, less blue. This also makes it look and feel kind of dusty. So I'm taking some white, lightening the value a little bit more, using the edge, drag it across. There's some almost like scrapes that are across the brick. I don't want to do it too much. I just want to do it enough that it's going to make the surface look interesting. Then there's another subtle little shift that goes slightly more red. So here again, getting some of this, I'm holding it at a steep or a flat angle So it will just drag across the form better. And even up at the top here, just a little bit of change. Now down here, it needs to go slightly darker in value, and I'm really liking the look of this scumbling it's coming across. So I'm gonna take some slightly darker values after I soften out this edge. That was a bit too hard for my liking. I'm removing most of the paint off of my brush. I'm gonna go with a slightly darker value, some raw umber, put it in this mixture here. And I want it to be this gray. I don't want it to be as warm as it is right there. So I'm gonna take this, scumble across it and see how it looks. Maybe I could push it just a little bit darker. There we go. Sweet lovin'. This is the funnest part for me. It's like you're making it look realistic, more realistic than you had before, because you're adding abstract shapes. Again, I'm just dragging it across, seeing these subtle little variations that are going into the lights and the darks just by scumbling, just by dragging it across. So much fun. A little bit more raw umber. I'm going to find the areas that are slightly darker. There's this pathway. And it's not that I'm trying to copy this brick exactly. I just want to have it feel more like the brick that I'm painting. If I could finish my sentences while I'm painting at the same time. It's really hard to paint at the same time and talk about stuff. Okay, I'm really digging what I did in the light shapes. Those light shapes are looking fun. I could push the chroma in some of these other areas, which actually, I'll do that right now. Cleaning off my brush, getting some of this perylene red. And I'm gonna put it right here in between the two. A little bit more perylene red. Gonna do some scumbling now. It looks to be a little bit too violet for me. So I'm gonna take some transparent oxide yellow and add it to the perylene red. A little bit more perylene red, because I wanna make this more of a deeper red. This has gotta be a good brick color. There we go, that's much better. Then there's another little part that becomes more, that was too much yellow, a little more orangey. So I'm taking some yellow and putting it in my mixture. Notice the value's not changing very much, but the hue is shifting from this brick red to this more yellowish red. There's parts that are kind of cut out right here on that brick. That looks to be just a little bit too yellow for my liking. So I'm gonna go back into this red. And right now I'm not scumbling. I'm just placing a more opaque paint There, it needs to go slightly lighter in value. If I use titanium white, that value would have been blown out with the amount that I just used. There we go. Better. A little bit more perylene. Now I'm adding more paint here, and I'm lightening up the value because I'm increasing the thickness of the paint quality, and I'm going to enhance some of the values that are sitting up here at the top of the brick. So let's give it a go here. See how it looks. Too dark in value. I'll need to lighten that. So let's go off to the side here. Lighten up that value. That looks pretty good. Let's give it a go. Nope, lighter. There's this little ledge that I don't need to, but I want to represent as the light is hitting off of it. It also is doing the same thing right at the edge here. And a little bit lighter. So you can see that I'm really refining some of these values and shapes. There's a raked value. It's in between these two that's sitting in the back here, and it's not as orange. So I'm gonna just take the same type of color, go over parts of that orange. So I get glimpses of orange coming through, but I don't wanna fill it all in. I wanna keep the spontaneity of some of the brushwork. And then there's also black that's sitting up there. So clean off my brush. I shouldn't say black, I should say a dark gray. So I'm gonna go back to this dark gray. I don't clean off my brush with mineral spirits or anything like that. I'm just wiping it off so I get the majority of the paint off. And it comes to the top. These are gonna be flatter shapes. So I need to make sure that I'm using more of a horizontal brush stroke. All right, I'm feeling that. I'm digging it. There are some lighter values up there too, but I don't want to draw the attention from this part up to the top. So I think I'm going to leave the top part right now, not disturb it anymore. But some of these edges that are coming in here, they're slightly lighter, and it breaks the form just a little bit because it's so rugged and broken. So broken. Poor thing is broken. And then there's a little bit higher chroma red that's sitting up here. So I'm going to take some transparent oxide red. Ooh, that's too red. But if I turn it into a glaze, which means I'm taking some of this medium, it's a Venetian medium, it'll make it just a little bit more transparent. The value looks to be about right. The chroma might be a bit too much, but I'm going to give it a go. Give it a go. Drag and pull down. That's looking good. I actually want it less orange. Yes, that's a good color. Start at the top, drag it down. So how is this different from how is this glazing versus scumbling? It's kind of a cross between the two. I took a medium, thinned it down a little bit more so that I could pull it down. It's doing a scumbling section after I'm pulling the brush down, and then it is also doing some glazing as I'm starting with more of a loaded paintbrush towards the top. And I need to darken the value just a little bit more. So here we go. A little bit more scumbling, darkening the value, maybe making it just a little bit more red. There we go. Let's try this again.
Really speed up.
Okay, I'm actually kind of digging that. Comes to the back just a little bit. I want to soften out that area. Lightly holding the brush. I'm not pushing down hard. I'm just raking it across the surfaces or the surface. Now I need to go with something a little bit more gray. I want to push this corner out a little bit more by adding more contrast. So I'll go back into this raw umber. Mix some of that paint. I'll do some scumbling just along the edge here. Because I want to push that out just a little bit more.
Okay.
There we go. There's a cut in the brick right there. Gotta have that cut. And then it continues down to here. But the nice thing about scumbling is you can create these additional textures without really having to repaint the whole thing. If you already have texture there, scumbling is awesome. I mean, look at that. I'm just enhancing the texture by scumbling here. It'll make it look more realistic, more interesting, in my opinion, more interesting. I'm gonna darken this value just a little bit more. And then this ledge that's kind of shooting under. Yeah, there we go. Hot diggity. Now, this is like a tar paper section that is connected to the brick. So I'm gonna go much darker. Go with raw umber. I'm gonna add some medium with the raw umber. Ooh, maybe I need to go darker. So even with the raw umber, I'm gonna take some ultramarine blue and add it with the raw umber. That will make it a darker and less orange of a color. And there's a part that comes in right there that's slightly darker. And another section that comes in right about there. And then the darkest section that comes under there. Now the painting is starting to come to life, I think. Maybe I just totally killed it. Who really knows though? Yeah, man, this is so fun. Okay, there are some more blue areas that are sitting in here. Maybe I should say more gray. So I'm gonna go with some of the raw umber and add a little bit of blue to it. Right down here to make it more of a gray. Let's see if this is too light of a value. It might be. I don't want to make it as light as I did over here. Look at how dark this is compared to that, because this is in the shadow shapes. So I got to keep those value relationships compressed. No, I got to make it more blue, more cool. Play with these cool and warm colors.
Good light.
A little bit more blue, and it can go lighter in value. The reason I know it can go lighter in value is because this is a darker value than this, and I want that to be a more subtle transition. So if I increase the chroma and also increase the value, it will make that transition a little bit more subtle. A little bit more blue. Let's just risk it and go for it. Let's go for the gold. Now, what happens if you do this because you're pushing the paint too much and you mess up with it? Well, the nice thing about scumbling and or glazing is you can just go in and erase it. You can remove it. You can take mineral spirits and put it over the section and wipe off whatever you thought you messed up. Makes it great. I don't know if it makes it great. It's great that you can change it. That's what's great. I'm going to go slightly darker up here on this edge. There we go. Slightly darker, picking up more paint to make that darker value. Soften out some of those angles. Man, I'm sorry, but I'm really liking this brick. I shouldn't apologize that I like a brick. Who apologizes for liking bricks? I don't. All right, now that I have that placed in, I'm going to do some glazing. If you look across the side here, there's almost this halo effect around the brick, and I don't want that halo effect. So I'm going to do another layer that will be semi-transparent with a quicker drying medium that I will paint over the whole entire background here and also down here to make the brick pop out from the surface a little bit more. Instead of using a bristle brush, I'm going to use a sable, because sables, I can get more subtle control of value and shapes. All right, here I have a sable brush. There we go. This sable brush is a golden sable, and it has, yes, it's pretty broad. That allows me to fill in the shapes here pretty broadly. I want to do vertical strokes so that I don't get much light reflecting off the background. And then if I rotate it to its side, I can get a nice, sharp, small area here to cut in the contrast that's coming from the bottom. I'm going to take some raw umber to make that dark value, a little bit of medium. Look at that, man, that medium, it's awesome. And then, let's see, I'm looking at the color, and the color actually looks pretty darn warm underneath there. So maybe I'll just stick with the raw umber. A little bit more. There we go. Look at that dark color. All right, I only want to put it right underneath this shape. Ba-doomp. 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 Soften out the edges here just a little bit more. That kind of gives it a little bit more of a lift. Gonna soften out that edge there. I'm pulling it from the line that I made to the edge of the surface. And then here in the front, there are also just a couple little changes. Make that sit on the surface better. Man, alive. Oh, it's too much. Yes, I love it. I just used my finger to be able to pull that off. All right, also I'm going to cut in a couple of shapes with this. So there's a value that's sitting right there that's a little bit darker. There's a value sitting there. This part that I scumbled, kind of darken it just a little bit more. And it comes out, increase the contrast on some of that area in the back there. I don't know if I want to sell this brick anymore. I'm really digging this painting. Make this slightly darker in value, make that edge really kind of pop out. Same thing with this edge. Just a little bit more, maybe that was too much. I'll take it and pull it across. Yeah, buddy. Soften out that stuff. All right, don't use your fingers and stuff if you have lead white paint that you're painting with. This is a dark glaze, so I can dabble with it all I want. All right, and then there are a couple of little spots up here. There's a slightly darker value right there at the top. Just to push those values just a little bit more. Yeah, buddy. All right, I'm digging it. Just finish this little part up here and then paint in the background. Soften out that cast shadow just a little bit more. Yes. Not too much, not too little. All right, now I have to fill in the back here. This is going to be too warm to what I have there, so I'm going to take some ultramarine blue. I need to take more ultramarine blue because I have to glaze this whole thing down. Some more raw umber. Oh, more raw umber. And I need some more medium because it's too thick. Now this value is just a little bit too dark if I compare the two. It's too dark. I don't want the background to go too dark. I want the foreground object to be darker than the background. So I'm going to take a little bit of lead white. A little more. Let's see if that works. What the heck? Holy guacamole. I love it. What is going on in the world? All right, dude, I just love it when I nail things. Then you might be asking, well, if you nailed it so well, why do you keep adding color? Because this is not going to be enough to fill in the whole entire canvas, but it'll work to do the job, I guess, right now. Here we go. And I'm going to take this clip off and I'll finish painting that part when I'm done painting everything else. But do you see how it's making it more opaque? It is filling it in. There's all these little lighter values that are sitting around the edge, creating a halo around the brick. And I don't want that halo. I want a solid shape. Looks like I'm going to have to mix some more. Now, if I really wanted to get this done quickly, I would use a much bigger brush, but I just don't want to clean it. So I'm not going to. Just going to keep with this smaller brush to fill in the shapes. And all I have to do is do it up in this top area. Once I get down to this transitional area, I don't have to do it. If I want to, I could, but I don't think I do.
It's others.
Maybe I should sing a song or something while I'm doing this. It can be quite boring for somebody to watch somebody do this, but I'm not going to sing you a song. Maybe I should have my son sing a song for you because he is a much better singer than I am. But I'm a much better painter than he is. Ha ha ha. I've been painting almost as long as he's been alive. What I like to do is paint from the outside going in towards the object, and then at the very end, fill in the values and edges that are sitting around the brick or the object that I'm painting. And the reason for that is because each time I paint in here, it's going to pull up some of the color or values from the object that I was painting in the middle. And I don't want to do that. If I happen to pull some of the paint off of the object that I'm painting, like right here, I get too much paint on there and it changes the color, I'll just wipe it off on my paper towel, come back to my mixture and mix it. If I go directly to my mixture, then I'm pulling that value and color into my mixture, and that is not very good, because that will lighten up the value and you'll get that nice little halo that I don't like. Some people could like it, I think. I don't like it. Okay, without getting too close to those edges there, I think it's working out. Gosh, I mixed up almost the perfect amount of this stuff. Crisp up some of these edges just a little bit. There we go. Happy day. All right. That's it. That's the difference between some parts that are scumbled, some parts that are glazed. The difference between the two: glaze, usually you use a medium and it's semi-transparent and you put it in an area where you want to kind of flatten it out. You can glaze where you're turning form, but that would be an application of scumbling and glazing. And then scumbling applies more paint to a texture. It enhances the texture. It makes the look of a certain thing stand out versus other stuff. So that's basically it, I think. I will take this down, and after I harden up a couple of edges here, there we go. I need a little bit for the top up there. I don't like this edge back here very much, so I'm gonna bring it down. I picked up some color. Wipe it off first. That looks better. And one last straight edge. Ta-da! Yay! Okay, I'm done. I would sign it in the front, but I am not supposed to with this painting. Because it's for a show. All right, I will take it down and finish painting this stuff, but that is it. My nice little demonstration of scumbling and or glazing onto a surface, and how it can go from the beginning of the video to the end and how much it's pushed. It's very subtle. It's not a lot, but it's enough to make a difference, in my opinion. And that's all that really matters, because it's my freaking painting, right? All right. I hope you have an exceptional day. Okay, I guess this should be a blooper wheel. I have this white spot right here. I thought it was a speckle from my glasses. It's actually on the painting. I gotta fix that. So I will take this darker value, paint it in that little area. It'll make it look like it's a chip. Ta-da! Man, how did I miss that one? I don't know, but I did. And nobody said anything to me. Disappointed. I wish you people would just tell me about these things while I'm working on them. Or maybe I should do this on live TV so that live TV, live stream, that's the word, live stream it so that people can look at it and say, McGarren, that part is really bugging me. Could you please change it? And I'll be like, no, let it bug you until it bugs me. And then I'll change it. Okay, I swear I'm done now. I'm done. I'm moving on. Thank you. Have a good day.